for the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers. Kochtopia. Kochtopia. Yeah, that's it. Kochtopia. The Koch brothers want some open debate. It's here. We've done it. The Koch brothers and other moneyed interests are influencing the political process for their own benefit. The Koch brothers are spending hundreds of millions of dollars telling Americans that Obamacare is bad for them. These two brothers are trying to buy America.
Wow. Now, there's a lot that you may not know about this family, including the fact that there's actually 4 Koch brothers. Daniel Schulman is senior editor at Mother Jones and the author of a new biography, Sons of Wichita, How the Koch brothers Became America's Most Powerful and Private Dynasty. And he joins us now. Thanks for coming on with us.
My pleasure.
The first thing I thought about when I saw your book was it must have been a bitch to research, right? Because I don't think the Koch brothers necessarily want to talk to a guy from Mother Jones and tell him all of their private, super private secrets.
It's an extraordinarily private family, and it's not just Mother Jones. It's that, they really don't talk to many journalists.
But they did talk to you.
I talked to the eldest of the 4 Koch brothers, and these guys also spent a good 20 years duking it out in a series of legal battles.
So the eldest is not David or Charles.
His name's Frederick, and
he's kind of estranged, isn't he?
Not really estranged, but he has he was not involved in the family company. He's an arts philanthropist. Has restored a fabulous series of homes around the world.
So he's the cool one.
Frederick's a really cool guy. People think of him as a sort of Victorian gentleman. He's got really great taste in art, and he's got a fabulous home.
So he's not involved in the family company, but he's still, I'm getting, super rich.
Quite rich, quite rich. He's probably a 100 millionaire, whereas the rest of the Koch brothers are well into the billions.
All right, well, help us understand what drives them. Democrats love to say it's strictly their oil business interests. Now that you've done this research, what do you say?
I disagree with that. I mean, I think a lot of people say these guys are just completely self-interested. What I found is, these guys are really true believers. Charles and David were highly involved in the libertarian movement of the 1970s and 1980s. These are just staunch free market guys. They don't want subsidies for their company. They don't want corporate welfare. They don't want welfare for the poor either, but they're trying to be consistent in their beliefs.
Well, consistent in their beliefs, but not with one another. Over the family fortune, it was brother against brother in a nasty way.
It was one of the most brutal family feuds in history, it has to be.
So set the scene for us. Who versus who?
So you have Charles and David. So what takes place is in 1979, 1980, Koch Industries is starting to come under scrutiny by a variety of government agencies, Department of Energy, IRS. Bill, who is an executive at the company at that point, starts to get concerned about the direction it's going in. It's also a closely held private company. He wants cash out of the company. Charles is plowing almost all the earnings back into the company. Other shareholders share some of these views, and they attempt to basically a boardroom coup to depose Charles as chairman of the board and take a greater role in the management of the company. This whole thing blows up, and Bill gets fired from the company. This ignites basically a 20-year battle between the brothers, with Frederick and Bill on one side, Charles and David on the other.
And where are they now?
Where Charles and David are running Koch Industries. Bill has his own quite successful energy company called Oxbow.
I mean the relationship, 20 years later, where is it?
Amazingly enough, Bill and David, who are fraternal twins, were able to rekindle their relationship. Charles and Bill, not so much. There's been some slight rapprochement in recent years. There have been some kind words exchanged between these brothers. But it got so nasty with kind of private eyes out there digging through each other's trash. They believed moles were within each other's companies stealing documents. Bill essentially tried to whip up an investigation by the Senate and also a whistleblower lawsuit.
Okay, then if this is how they treat their own family, are Charles and David surprised at all of these caricatures that the media has created of, these evil guys sort of twisting their mustaches at everyone else's demise?
I do think that they are surprised by the way that they are portrayed in the media. I think they're surprised at being portrayed as Republican kingmakers when, for a long time, they were sort of at odds with the Republican Party. These guys are libertarians. They're not social conservatives. So that really there's only a really narrow subset of issues that they are actually in agreement with today's Republican Party.
I wonder what their relationship is like with the Democrats. I mean, do they meet Harry Reid? He obviously is using them as a political tool. Do they meet any of these politicians in Washington? I know they're private as far as journalists are concerned, but surely they go and talk to congressmen on the
Surely their lobbyists do. But the fact of the matter is they used to have much better relations with the Democrats, and in recent years, as all this demonization has happened, I mean, you can see what's happening on the Senate floor with Harry Reid denouncing these guys day in, day out, and on their website, Koch, they're firing back at Harry Reid and other Democrats.
Is there any limit to what they'll spend in 2016?
Well, the thing is, it's not them that's pouring so much money into these elections. It's really this network of really wealthy contributors that they've brought together. That's why they're so powerful. That's why they're able to direct so much money into these elections.
Do those wealthy contributors want to stay ultra private? Because it's really the face of the Koch brothers that the world wants to hate.
I think that a lot of them would prefer to stay private, and that's why this money is really funneled through a daisy chain of groups to kind of obscure the source of the funding.
I wonder about the libertarian aspect of it, because I think a lot of people, especially on Wall Street, find that easier to embrace than the kind of Tea Party Republicans who seem to want to control your social life as well. One of these brothers actually ran for vice president, a libertarian ticket
in the
at
80s,
one point.
I think.
Yeah, in 1980 election.
So is there do they get behind that, or... because they're so closely linked with the Tea Party all the time, but the Tea Party surely isn't a libertarian group.
In some aspects, it is on government spending and those sorts of issues, but you did get a lot of social conservatives.
But on other aspects, socially, they're so on the other end. Free market libertarians, which, as Matt would say, there's a lot of New York Wall Streeters that feel that way, but they certainly don't feel that way about the social issues.
Right. And so, essentially, the Kochs for many years, I mean, going on, for Charles, this has been his project for going on 50 years, is to mainstream libertarianism. Again, these guys, not social conservatives at all. They're anti-war. They're pro-civil liberties. Their issues are free market issues. That's where they advocate. It would be interesting if you would see them putting their money where their mouths are on issues like immigration and reproductive rights and that sort of thing. I think that might really change their image.
And their relationship with the Tea Party, right?
All right, now that you've done all this research, now that you've written the book, has your opinion changed of them? What do you think?
I was always kind of impressed with these guys. I never had a really negative opinion of them. And I think through the process of doing this book, I gained respect for all of them in different ways. I mean, Charles is basically, a kind of once-in-a-generation businessman. What he's done at Koch Industries is fairly astounding. He hates nothing more than when people say, this guy's a trust fund kid. Because, yeah, he's a trust fund kid, but he took a company that was worth $50 million in 1967, and it's now $115 billion a year.
Have they read the book?
I hear that David Koch is going to be reading it this weekend in Palm Beach.